Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. You're watching In Deep on the Delta. This is the weekly Delta fishing report for the week of June 10th. And you may notice I'm not out on the water. I was out this morning, had a little problem with my cameras, so I'm back in my home studio filming the report this week, but not to worry, I'll have all the information that you're going to need for a great day on the river. With that, let's get going. You might have noticed the intro picture was the bearded basser, Caleb Smith, and I wanted to give Caleb a shout out. He was the guy holding the great big fish up, for those of you who don't know the beard. But anyhow, Caleb's got a YouTube channel, Bearded Bassing. He's a local guy. He does a lot on the Delta, a lot on the Mother Lode, Clear Lake, Berryessa, so he has local content. And I wanted to make sure you guys are supporting all the local YouTube guys. When they know you're watching, they're getting the views, it gives them incentive, and myself also incentive to go out and do the filming and put the content out there for you guys. So check out Caleb Smith, the Bearded Basser, on YouTube. With that, we'll get right into, let's talk about a general fishing report. The last week or 2 weeks, I've had reports from everywhere up and down the Central Valley, from Clear Lake all the way down to Don Pedro. Everything's going really well. I got a picture of Chanel. She's been doing really well up at Maloney's, and she's beautiful fish up there. So Maloney's is going well. I was up at Clear Lake last week, did really well. It's just a good time to be out on the water, and I'll give myself a little hit up. Tomorrow I will be posting the video of my trip down to Clear Lake, and that's my partner Jason and I, 2 days of fishing, tournament fishing on Clear Lake. It was Jason's first tournament, and I think it'll be fun for a lot of you guys that are thinking about maybe getting into the tournament scene. Jason has quite a bit to say on the difference between fun fishing and tournament fishing. So check out that video. I'll be uploading that tomorrow. So everything's going well. We'll start off on the Delta with a little bit of striper report. And last week it was a tough week, and Captain Jeff Soo Hoo from Soo Hoo Sportfishing had a tough week for the first time in 2 or 3 weeks. Well, his report this week was a heck of a lot better. Last week he was finding a lot of fish but not catching them. So I guess this week he found the fish and he caught the fish. So Jeff had good fishing. He also had reports last week of a lot of the party boat skippers that were out in the bay saying that they thought a new flight of fish was coming into the Delta, and it looked like they were full of eggs and full of milk, and I think those fish probably made it back into the Delta. I know in my largemouth bass fishing this week, I've caught a heck of a lot more striper, and they're all in good shape. They're not big, they're 16 to about 24 inches, but they seem to be pretty plentiful. They just seem to move into the system as far as I'm concerned in my fishing. And I've been catching them on chatterbaits, but I have friends that have been out and they have been trolling and using live bait, catching fish. And I also know that the locals out of Paradise, the usual suspects that I know catch fish, they're all going out. So somebody got the word out that they're starting to catch fish again. So if you guys are striper guys and you put your rods up, you better pull them out again and stick around for a couple more weeks. I think there's going to be a new flight of fish coming into the river, and they're going to offer a little more couple weeks of exciting striper fishing. So that is the striper report. Let's get into the largemouth bass report, and a lot going on there because I want to back up about a week, and everything was rosy, getting all kinds of great reports. Everybody was happy, everybody was catching fish on pretty much everything they were throwing. Wherever they were at, whatever situation was, whether it was worms or punching or frogging or topwater, chatterbaits, crankbaits, everybody had a report of catching fish. Then comes the weekend, and I want to start off by talking real briefly about the Future Pro tournament. It was a 2-day tournament, Saturday and Sunday, and the results were not great. The two teams, there was about 100 boat field, and the two teams that were first and second, they did pretty well. They both had 20-pound bags, I believe, for both days. But I believe those were the only 20-pound bags in the entire tournament. Middle of the pack, around 50, they were getting about 9.5 pounds a day, and about half of the field failed to weigh in limits. So this weekend was not a good weekend to be out on the Delta, and I believe the reason was because Monday we had that cold front come in. The wind started blowing about 25 miles an hour, and the temperature dropped probably 15 to 20 degrees. That was Monday. Now, I was out Tuesday and Wednesday, and I had been doing really well with a morning topwater bite. So I went out really early Tuesday, and guess what? I got blanked for my topwater morning bite. I had one bite, one blow up, and that was it. So that front, and by the way, Tuesday, Wednesday, the wind was blowing a good 20 miles an hour on the Delta. So we had a definite change in weather, and the barometer did drop. But my topwater bite basically disappeared. The bite was a lot slower during the daytime also, and it was slower for me both Tuesday and Wednesday. But as I said, the stripers were biting, and they were in good shape. I'll show you a little picture of one of the ones that I got, and it's, they're smaller fish, but nice girth and a lot of fun to catch. So they have kind of been taking up the slack that the largemouth bass left. There also has been some big largemouth bass, not a lot of them, but there's some big largemouth bass being caught. I'll show you a picture of one I got last week also. The heck, I might as well toot my own horn a little bit. Anyhow, let's give a quick river conditions report, and perfect. All I have to say, 73 to 75 degree water temperature, 3 to 5 feet visibility, and almost no one on the river. You've got the river, all your places to yourself. Very few guys striper fishing, very few guys largemouth bass fishing, and literally no skiers on the weekdays. I wasn't out there on the weekend. I imagine there may be a few jet skis and skiers out on the weekend, but weekdays it's just been almost a ghost town out there. So it is a good time to be out there. So what I have been finding, and the reports that I've been getting, have been across the board. People were catching fish punching. They're catching fish on frogs. There was a report of a good frog bite in the evening last week from about 7 to 9. I was fishing the morning, and I had a really good morning bite going on walking baits, spooks, and a little bit on a whopper plopper, and also a bubble walker. So like I said before, that kind of slowed down with this weather. But for you guys that are coming out on the weekend, I'm almost positive that as soon as the weather conditions start to stabilize, we start getting that 90-95 degree weather again, the bite's going to come back real quick. So what I've been catching my fish on, chatterbaits, worms, still a little bit on the top water, a few frogfish. I have not been doing any punching, but I know people are catching them punching. I also have had reports on a few people picking up fish on jerkbaits. Hook, line, and sinker has a couple of their customers that have been slaying stripers on jerkbaits somewhere out around Frank's Track. That's about the only report that I've gotten from any of the shops. So like I said before, not a whole lot of striper guys going out there, but the added bonus of throwing a jerkbait this time of year would be catching a few stripers. And the other thing that I might add, I have been throwing a green pumpkin chatterbait for most of the season, primarily green pumpkin. But I have a friend that I see out at Paradise every now and then, and he really had a good day on a crawdad color chatterbait, and just kind of a green pumpkin with a bright orange black body. So I took his advice and I started throwing a cray colored one, or a craw colored one, and that really they seem to prefer that over the green pumpkin this week anyhow. So you might try that if you get out on the river. So with that, I have been catching most of my fish in 3 to 5 feet of water out on flats of Thule Islands. I'm not fishing rock banks, and I'm not fishing the flooded islands much. When I am in the flooded islands, I am getting stripers, but I'm not getting largemouth. So I'm fishing Thule Islands. I'm fishing the protected side of them on the flats that are about 3 to 5 feet deep, and I am especially concentrating in the areas where there are Thule clumps. And when the fish are not active, I'm using jigs and worms to get right in the base of the clump and just sit there and sit on them, pitch right into it or flip into it. When the top of the high tide and the tide starts going out, the first 2 hours of the outgoing high tide have been my bite window, and that's when the fish move out and they start picking up some of the moving baits, whether it might be a mostly chatterbait, or if you're throwing a crankbait or a jerk bait. That's when the first 2 hours of the outgoing tide is when you might want to start throwing some of the baits that reaction style baits. Other than that, it's been, the last couple days have been slow, but I believe by the weekend you guys are going to be back to having some pretty good fishing. So it's time to go out and have some fun. I don't know what else to say. Top of the tide, first 2 hours, reaction baits. When they're after that, you really want to pitch in close to cover, and you guys should have some fun. So thanks for watching. That is the report. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you watch next week's report. I'm sure I'm going to have some interesting things, because this is the time of year where I really start fishing the Delta, maybe 3-4 times a week, and I think the big fish are going to really turn on. It was good before the front. It's going to be good as soon as the weather stabilizes. So thank you guys for watching.